This show is sponsored by We Are Change Fresno. Welcome to We Are Change Fresno with your hosts, Stuart Webb and Sam Chaney, fighting the international bankers' one world government scientific dictatorship. Be the change you want to see in the world. And now, here's your hosts.
Welcome to We Are Change Fresno on 1680 AM. This is week 20 of our broadcast. I'm your host, Stuart Webb, along with my co-host, Sam Chaney, and Woody in the studio.
Hello.
We really appreciate you tuning in to the broadcast, and we appreciate our sponsors. We couldn't do it without you, and we'd just like to thank you, and we'd like to thank our listeners for supporting the show. Today we have a few guests. Our first guest is Jonie Larue, with she is the chairman of No on Measure Z, which is coming up here to vote on in I believe early November. She's here to talk about why she is the chairman of No on Measure Z and why we should vote against it. And so, Jonie, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you very much for inviting me.
No problem. We like to cover a lot of local issues on this show. We are Change Fresno, so we want to make sure that our audience is hearing news that they may not get anywhere else. So, why are you the chairman of No on Measure Z? What is do you hate the animals? I mean, what's the deal?
I get asked that all the time.
Of course, which I know that's not true, but I'm being facetious.
Yeah. No, I'm a major zoo donor. I am a zoo supporter, and I visit the zoo, but I don't believe that we need to raise taxes and establish government programs every time there's a need in our communities. And this is one that we don't need. We did it 10 years ago. You could have made the case then that it was in desperate situation. Now we have a sterling zoo with AZA accreditation, huge numbers of visitors, and there's no need for the continued tax. Even the zoo says they're financially sustainable through 2021 without Measure Z.
Well, absolutely, and we know that they spent, what was it, over $100 million in the last 10 years on the zoo?
That's
because
what
of
they will have spent.
They will have spent, and that, like you said, we don't need to raise taxes in order to get things done. In fact, raising taxes usually prevents things from getting done efficiently because you have to steal people's money to then give it to someone else, and they can spend it however they want instead of using your dollar to spend it. Like you said, you're a zoo donor, so you know where the money's going.
Correct.
So, and you're spending it the way you want, so it's going to be used in the most efficient way. So now, can you go into detail on what exactly is Measure Z?
Measure Z is a 0.1% sales tax. It is a 10-year sales tax. About 5 to 6% of the money goes to the State Board of Equalization in Sacramento. So that's about $5-6 million that's drained right out of the local economy, goes straight to the state of California. The remainder of it stays in Fresno and is earmarked exclusively for the Fresno Chaffee Zoo. The problem is, the 2004 ordinance had language in there that prevented the zoo from getting money if they didn't spend it well. That language we're not sure was ever really enforced, but the language itself has been removed from the current ordinance.
And who decides if they are spending the money well?
The county of Fresno has a zoo authority which is responsible for overseeing Measure Z spending. The process, though, is that the zoo provides all the documentation to them, and then the county approves the budgets and the spending. For instance, let me give you an example of how weak the system is. The county right now is writing checks. I think in August they wrote a $3.7 million check to the zoo for construction work at the Africa exhibit. The county does not even have a set of construction plans. In my opinion, they're simply rubber stamping what the zoo gives to them.
Yeah, because, well, there's no incentive for them to spend it wisely and use it wisely because it's not even their money. I mean, realistically, they've stolen it, and I don't mean to sound radical, but they've stolen it from the taxpayers. And even though I guess you could say we voted for it in 2004, but we don't want to do that again because, like you said, the accountability is not there. We don't know where they don't even have a construction plan, but yet they wrote the check. So
well, they have a construction plan. They just don't have it. The county of Fresno does not have it, or the Zoo Authority, I should say, does not have it. So I'm at a loss as to how the Zoo Authority can approve spending on a construction project when you don't even have a set of plans. They have the cost estimates, but that doesn't tell you much. You don't know if you're paying Rolls-Royce prices to get a Chevrolet.
There you go.
You know, do you get the feeling they're trying to just push it through with the pressure of the election and everything without being fully transparent? I mean, they're using the election, it seems like, as leverage to just push it through.
Well, it is a tax issue, and so it is decided by election. But I think what happens is they are trying to confuse the issue of the tax with the issue of the zoo. That's where they're trying to confuse it. And that's why I tell people, I am a zoo supporter, I am a zoo donor, I attend the zoo, I oppose the tax. I do not confuse the zoo, support of the zoo, with support of the tax. They're not
absolutely.
the same thing.
Exactly. No, well, see, and you said that it's sustainable already. They've admitted that it's sustainable through 2021, you said?
2021, yeah, into the next decade.
So why do they need more money from the taxpayers?
I'm not sure that they do.
That-
It's just free money. And
might as well try to push it through. Well, you know what I think it is? A lot of it is these signs that are so cute with the elephant. I mean, right?
They're everywhere.
They're
yeah.
everywhere. It's huge
Those
propaganda.
are really nice signs. So who are the proponents of yes on Measure Z that we are thinking maybe not caring about the actual physical responsibility of this project?
Well, the Yes on Z committee is made up of 3 members. Two of them are Fresno Chaffee Zoo Corporation board members, and one is the CEO of the Fresno Chaffee Zoo. So, they're looking at the income flow into the zoo. They obviously would like to protect it. The financial donors of the Yes on Z, the 2 major ones are Gerald Lyles, who owned Pelco Corporation and owns Lyles Diversified, a construction company, and one of his business associates from Pelco, David McDonald. Everyone knew him. He was the front man for the Yes on Z in 2004, the man from Pelco. Other major donors on this are the construction companies who are working.
There you go. They have an incentive.
Exhibit. Yeah, they have an incentive to see that revenue continued, I believe.
Yeah, and I wonder if is there going to be a competition for contracts for getting those, or is it already set up? Who knows? Is it going to be a no-bid contract?
That's one of the problems we have, is that the bidding is not done publicly. They do not follow the County of Fresno's process and procedure for construction bidding to ensure fairness and an equal opportunity for everyone. And that's one of the reasons we object to this Measure Z.
Yeah, basically it's a transfer of wealth. I mean, I know we talk about this a lot on our show, Sam and I do, the transfer of wealth to special interests, but really that's kind of what it is. It's the taxpayers are paying the bill for some. It on the outside looks like this. It's this great. We're getting this great service done, and then the zoo's going to be all great. But really, it's just a transfer of wealth of the taxpayers to private interests and special interests. And it's not. You're not really accountable. They're not accountable to the taxpayers, and they even admit that they don't have to give up any documents. Is that correct? I mean, so how can we hold them accountable with our money? I mean, at least with government, even though I don't agree with them taking our money in the first place, we could. You at least have a legal way of saying, hey, we pay your salary. You're a government. You're a public entity. We have a right to the information. But with private entities, I mean, you don't really have that the right to the information. And like you said, it's not going to be. There's not going to be people competing for these construction jobs. It's already right. I mean, correct. That's going to be basically just given to whoever they want personally, right?
Well, the problem is we don't know. I can't make that
There you
statement
go.
because
Okay.
we
So
don't
it's just
know.
unclear.
It's
Yeah.
it's not just unclear. It's completely hidden. You mentioned the taxes. Let me go. You hit a couple of points there that are important. You talked about the taxes. First of all, they will the Yes on Z people will focus on the fact that it's simply pennies.
Yeah.
It's pennies on the
Oh
dollar.
yeah, it's a tenth of a cent or whatever.
I
yeah.
don't care how you slice it and dice it.
It's a lot of money.
It's $105 million.
Yep.
And every $1 billion you can slice down to a penny. That
Yes.
doesn't make it chump change.
Yeah.
The other issue is the taxation. It's a sales tax, and sales taxes are regressive. They are harder on low-income people.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fact. So what we're doing here, or what they're proposing, is to continue to tax at the hardest rate low-income people in order to subsidize low-income families' visits to the zoo.
Yeah.
Couple of problems with that. I'm not sure how you take $105 million from people and tell them you've saved them money.
Yeah.
And secondly, how do they subsidize the family who the zoo isn't their choice? The ballpark is their choice.
No.
The golf,
No, exactly. What people don't really get is that you might be getting things cheaper, but you've already paid for them. And you weren't even, and like you said, what about that family that doesn't like the zoo? I mean, I like the zoo, but what if that family wants to go to the ballpark or go see a movie? They can use their money specifically for what they want, but they've already stolen their money through taxes to pay for something that they don't even want, and so how do you make those victims whole again? I mean, because they don't go to the zoo and they had to pay for it.
Yeah, that's an argument. And the other one is, why should every taxpayer, why should voters require that every taxpayer in the county of Fresno donate to one single nonprofit? I see very conservative people signing the Yes on Z. Mm-hmm. You see them in the Fresno Bee. And I wonder what they would say if we suggested a sales tax instead of provide affordable zoo admission for low-income families. Yeah. How about providing affordable health care for low-income families? I frankly think they would run screaming from the room.
And that's the thing. They think that those are the wannabe conservatives, I like to call them. They'll selectively be conservative on certain issues, but then, yes on Z, raise taxes. Well, I don't go. What if I don't go to the zoo? I mean, but I have to pay for it. That seems like sort of a socialistic. That doesn't seem like a conservative value. But the thing is, that's the problem: is that people are just ignorant to it. What actually is, what we're actually paying for, and how it's being done. Right.
Well, this year and in 2014, Measure Z, we're finally opening up the conversation that was never had in 2004. I think in 2004 and even some today, people just feel guilty.
Yeah,
they're being guilted. Into voting for Z or
you don't want
supporting
poor
Z.
kids to see the animals at the zoo.
That's the message I hear. Yeah, and it's not the truth at all.
Yeah, or the zoo's going to shut down, right? If we don't pass this tax. I mean, really, if the zoo was going to shut down, if it really shut down, I'm sure many people would actually be willing to donate to reopen the zoo because it'd be their money that they're using and they've made the choice to donate instead of, like you said, they are already sustainable. So they don't need the money, and we don't really know what happens with the money. There's no accountability. So it's really just unnecessary completely.
Yeah, it's almost as if the Yes on Z people are trying to propose suggest to us that we only have two alternatives here. We either pass a tax or we lose our viable, vibrant zoo. Those aren't the only two options. No. You can do what every other nonprofit did, and certainly what our government agencies did in 2008, 2009, when tax revenues just tanked with the recession. And that is, they looked very carefully, tightened their belt very tight, and began looking at alternate forms of income. The zoo has the opportunity to pick up huge amounts of money through grant writing and through donations. I mean, if this huge support of the zoo is out there, those people should be writing their checks.
But isn't it easier just to steal from the taxpayers than actually do some work?
Well, it's easier to get the money from the taxpayers. That's a guaranteed source. You do it once every 10 years. I can't say steal because it's voted for by the public. Last time it passed was over 72%. This time it will have to pass with greater than, always it will have to pass with greater than 2/3 plus one vote. And that's an extremely high bar. I don't think they're going to make it.
Yeah, and I was reading some articles. The attendance is way up at the zoo. I mean, and there has been some great improvements. I've been there, and I think it's great. But then, I'm not willing to pay taxes on it for the next 10 years, though.
Stuart, I don't think in the general mainstream media here in Fresno we're getting an honest debate on this issue. They don't want to use logic and reason. All they want to use is emotion.
And that's why we have you on to give the other because we don't want people to feel guilty for not wanting this tax. The zoo's going to survive, okay? And just an example, Magic Mountain, and I know this is a side issue, Magic Mountain has supposedly been closing for the last 6 years, and it's still open.
Yeah.
So, it's just simple marketing. Hey, the zoo's going to close. Oh, maybe we should go to the zoo. There you go. Boom. You have income right there.
Yeah. I have no guilt saying no on Measure Z because I know that I support the zoo. I know I write my check.
Yeah. You do it with you've made the choice in the free marketplace to put your money where you want to see it. And so, but apparently, if you don't want to give the government money, to help save the zoo, you're now guilty of being, against the animals and being a cruel, inhumane person because those cute little, birds and monkeys aren't going to be able to have a home. So it's just it's unbelievable propaganda. And I think the signs, those elephant signs, I swear, that just right there, no one knows what it is. Yes on Z. Of course, everyone's going to just say, oh, yes, support the zoo. They don't even understand what it is. And it's going to hurt the lower income families that may actually want to go to the zoo. That might be their way of going to spend time with their family in the area that they live. I mean, Roding Park is not in the best area, but there's a lot of cool things to do there with the playland and the zoo, which is great, but they've already paid, the government's already taken it from them, but they don't even know it. That's the problem, is that they don't even know that they've already paid for it. So getting the cheaper price doesn't really make a difference, because the money that they paid, that was taken from them to make it a cheaper price, it wasn't even used efficiently. So it could have been cheaper if they just used their dollar where they wanted to put their dollar. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree. When you look at inefficiencies in spending, I mean, when you have tax money rolling in and you just want to spend it, the Africa exhibit is a great example. It started out in 2007, budgeted at $18.5 million, and that was a budget. It was budgeted again in 2011 at, I think, $27.5 million. Then by 2012, the Fresno Bee was saying that it would be $40 million. When they finished, what should have been a $27.5 million project is a $55.9 million project. How do we compare that? I look at Omaha, which has the #1 zoo in the country, the Henry Dorley Zoo. They are building an Africa expansion right now. They are spending $2.5 million per acre at the #1 zoo in the country. And we are spending 4.9. This is where I come to paying Rolls-Royce prices for a nice, I mean, we got a great exhibit, but we're paying far more than we should have. Nobody at the county or at the Zoo Authority even has a set of construction plans, but they just stamp
they have
and
the money.
approve. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I liken it to winning the lottery. If someone wins the lottery, that's why most lottery winners go bankrupt, because they didn't have to work for the money, okay? They didn't have to provide a product. They just got the money, and that is essentially what government is. I'm sorry, that's what it is, especially when it comes to things like this. I mean, $100 million over 10 years, and it doesn't look like $100 million was spent at the zoo. I'm sorry. It really doesn't. It looks better, and I think it's great, but we should have spent maybe, I don't know, one fifth of that. But yeah, it's, and we need to figure out how to keep them accountable, because how I mean, we're paying these prices and we're not getting the product we want. So we need, now what are some solutions to this then?
Well, one of the solutions for low income is to get corporate sponsorship. They have done that with Wells Fargo. They have Wells Fargo Wednesdays, and children 2 to 11, I believe the age range gets in for free on the first Wednesday of every month. So those kinds of corporate sponsorships provide admission opportunities for families. That's that, and grant writing and donations.
Yeah.
If you simply had every home that has one of these elephants sit down and write a $50 check to the zoo this year, next year, the year after next, the year after next. It's easy to take a free sign and plant it in your lawn.
Of course, yeah.
But just if that's where your heart is, then write your check. Don't ask someone else to pay for your passion.
Yeah.
Aren't those signs probably most likely funded out of taxpayer money? I would say they probably are.
Probably from the previous tax that we had on it, right?
No, they're two different signs. Okay. They changed it. The last elephant was a little bit too sorrowful.
So now it's happy. Keep funding me. Yay.
Yeah, exactly. It used to say save our zoo, and now it says keep our zoo. No, they're paid for out of campaign expenditures, and we can see that on the Farm 460s that are filed with the Fair Political Practices. But their committee has received, I think they're getting pretty close to $750,000 in campaign contributions. I mean, that's huge. And we are very, very small. This is definitely a David and Goliath fight.
Oh, yeah. So the yes on Z, obviously, I haven't seen a no on Z. So let's just say there.
We can't afford them.
We can't afford them, yeah. Well, because you got to pay already for the zoo tax that's already on you.
I have signs that you can put in your front window. You can go to our website, which is www.noonmeasurez.com, and download that little sign, print it out, and put it. I have one in my back car window. That's my bumper sticker.
Yeah, what I think what people just don't get is that when they vote for something like this, when it's packaged this way, like, oh, it's like save the children or save the puppies. I mean, really, that's what it is. And and you feel guilty, so of course they're going to say yes. Oh well, it's just this tiny amount, but they're going to pay for that elsewhere. And like you said with donations, if we didn't have to pay for the zoo out of taxes, people would have the money to be charitable. So when we're not forced relationships lose quality. So if we choose as a people to do it ourselves and pay for the zoo to stay open, it's probably going to be ran more efficiently, and we're going to get a better product, and ultimately we're going to be able to see where the money goes, because if they don't give us the product, we're going to quit donating.
Correct. You've got it.
Oh yeah, and so we have websites now. When exactly do you know the day of the election? And
it's the first Tuesday, and I believe it's the 4th, November 4th.
Is it November 4th? Okay, so folks, you need to get out and vote November 4th, and vote no on Measure Z, because they can sustain themselves, and we've already helped them, I think, enough through taxes. And is there any last words that you want to, anything else you want to talk about before we go?
No, I think we've hit it. The fact that they're financially sustainable, they don't need it. We've got that $5 to $6 million that gets drained out of Fresno County and goes straight to Sacramento.
Why is that? What?
Well, it's like if you go into a retail shop and you swipe your Visa card for $100,
oh, man.
the retailer doesn't get $100
Yeah.
because Visa has to pay their employees. They have to turn on their lights and rent their buildings. The state of California has the same responsibilities. So they pull their cost.
So
and it's $5 to $6 million over the $10 million period. And initially, we were not told the truth. When in 2004, they told us no funds would go to the zoo or to government. As a matter of fact, on this ballot, it says all proceeds to the Chaffee Zoo. That's not true.
Yeah. So I mean, basically, we're one bureaucracy is taxing us, and then they're just giving their higher up bureaucracy money for basically just for being a bureaucracy. So, folks, we just need to let the free market operate. We can make change. We can see great zoos through the free market. So vote no on Measure Z.
Yeah, and what a revelation! The state franchise tax board is lying to the taxpayers.
There you go. And we're giving them we'll be giving them $6 million over the next 10 years if just for being a bureaucracy. So vote no on Measure Z, and we really appreciate Jonie Larue, chairman of No on Measure Z, for being with us. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much.
You have a good night.
You too.
And folks, now we're gonna take a quick break. Here's a word from our sponsors.
Do you want to help them succeed? So do we. The Thrifty Nickel Want Ads is a family-owned business that has been a big part of the local community for over 30 years. Our goal is not only to produce a paper that is not only successful, but enduring. We are looking for experienced outside sales representatives to help grow and expand the Central Valley's favorite classified paper, while creating successful marketing campaigns that will increase business for their clients. If you care about better working relationships with local businesses, then we want to hear from you. 50% commission of every new contract acquired. If interested, contact Art at thriftynickelwantads.com or call 559-472-7182.
Listen up, Fresno. Are you tired of boring local news coverage? Then log on to FresnoForward.com, the Central Valley's #1 source for independent, local, and alternative news and views. FresnoForward.com is updated daily, bringing you stories on government corruption, local activism, Fresno culture, and so much more. Did I mention FresnoForward.com has no ads or signups required? FresnoForward.com. You'll love it.
We all know that a natural disaster, EMP attack, and martial law are a real possibility. Prepare before the crisis, because FEMA can't and won't keep you safe. Tops Military Supply. Veterans serving veterans, their families, and the community. Visit us at 605 West Shaw, Suite A, Clovis, California, or call us at 559-298-6001.
It's time for smart leadership at Fresno Unified. My name is Brooke Ashton, and I'm a proud parent running for Fresno Unified School Board to represent the Bullard area. I'm a businessman and farmer who's raised Bullard High graduates and have a deep family connection to Bullard. I've seen firsthand the struggles facing Fresno Unified, and I'm ready to make our schools better. I'm proud to have the support of current trustee Michelle Azadorian, Mayor Ashley Swearingen, Police Chief Jerry Dyer, Sheriff Margaret Mims, District Attorney-elect Lisa Smitkamp, and so many other community leaders. It's time to close the quality gap between Bullard and Clovis schools by being actively involved on campus. And we need to take bigger steps with the DA's office to end our dropout epidemic. We must bring back vocational training in technology, engineering, and agriculture that can guarantee jobs and opportunities for our kids after graduation. I'm Brooke Ashton, and together we can fix Fresno Unified from the paving up. Paid for by Brooke Ashton for School Board 2014.
Folks, we're back. This is We Are Change Fresno on 1680 AM. I'm your host, Stuart Webb, along with my co-host, Sam Chaney. It looks like our second guest, we just had Jonie Larue, of the chairman of the No on Measure Z, on with us. Very informative, and I would encourage everyone to vote no on Measure Z. We don't need more taxes. The government's completely out of control, and they spend our money, and they don't spend it wisely because they didn't have to work for it, okay? And any way you want to look at it, the government takes your money without you. I mean, you could argue that, okay, we vote for the representatives that vote for the taxes, or we directly vote on certain things to raise our own taxes. But really, if you don't want to pay taxes, you will go to jail, okay? If you don't want to give the government your labor, that your hard-earned money, the fruit of your labor, you will be put in jail. So no more taxes. The government's out of control. It's complete bureaucracy. Over 10 years, millions of dollars will be going just to a government, just to the Board of Equalization or something?
Yeah, State Franchise Board of Equalization. And they continually lie to the taxpayers.
Yeah, and so we're just going to give them money that has nothing to do with the zoo, but we're going to give them millions of dollars just because they are the Board of Equalization. They are government bureaucracy. And if you don't do it, well,
they'll send men with guns to your house.
Of course, yeah. But the thing is, you can't own guns. Remember, you can't own guns, but the government can basically put you in jail. No judge, no jury, NDAA, Patriot Act, et cetera, et cetera. So vote no on Measure Z. We don't need more taxes. And if we want to see the zoo continue, even though it's already admitted that it's going to be sustainable through the next 7-8 years, but if we want to see things happen, use the free marketplace while we still have it. And that's how things should operate. That's how the economy should operate. We spend our money where we want to spend it, period. That's how things get done. Deliver me a product, I'll buy your product if you deliver me what I paid for. Okay, and if you don't deliver it, I don't pay for it anymore. But that doesn't work when you sign 10-year taxes to pay for the zoo. They don't even need it. And they use all the propaganda, the cute little signs, and they just basically say you hate animals if you want to vote against it, instead of just using common sense, like Sam said earlier, and using logic and saying, well, why don't we just use our money for what we want to use it on? Because not everyone goes to the zoo. In fact, I love the zoo, but I went maybe 2 years ago. I mean, I can't remember when I went last. So, but if it passes, we're gonna have to pay for it. I'm gonna have to pay for it. And then guess what? I'm not going to go to the zoo because the money's already been stolen from me. Why would I go pay more money to the zoo? It's just ridiculous. It's economics, folks. And we can't have a welfare state. We can't have the Fed printing money, counterfeiting money. We can't have taxes that are just out of control and ridiculous. We can't have government bureaucracies. I mean, when does it end?
Stuart, it ends with you in a FEMA re-education camp is when it ends.
Yes, exactly. A government camp. If you choose to not pay your taxes, you are now a criminal. It's a victimless crime. And remember, folks, these are federal debt notes. So, don't care too much about money. Okay, it's a tool. Yes, you need to use it to provide for your family, and you need to use a valued medium so you can function in the economy. But really, they're just federal debt notes, okay? You can burn them. They're not worth anything, okay? Your soul's worth a lot more than a federal debt note.
Your brain, your mind, thinking is worth more than any piece of paper that you could ever find. The ability to actually think for yourself. And that's what we ask you to do on the show. Think for yourself, all right? I advise you, if you're confused about Measure Z, go research the issue yourself and vote yes or no. But please, if you're going to vote, be an informed voter and at least know what you're voting for, and don't just go in there and mindlessly check the box because you saw a pretty sign.
And hey, if you're not that informed, and hey, look, I'm not even as informed as I should be because I have to work to pay for the welfare state all the time. But I'm not going to talk about that as much. But really, just vote no on everything. I mean, really, when it comes down to it, if you don't know anything about it, vote no on it. Because if you tell them yes, they're going to steal money from you, okay, for the most part. And they'll word it. Even when you vote on the ballot, it's worded so it's so vague, it doesn't even matter. I mean, who knows? Obamacare was how many pages? 6,000 pages or 10,000 pages with the Obama add-ons illegally. Just unbelievable. It never ends. So vote no on everything. Write in yourself for Congress. Do things like that. Stop asking the government to take care of you and to provide, because the only person that's going to do that is you, yourself. So like Sam said, knowledge, your mind, your body, your soul is way more important than a federal debt note, okay? So just understand that and try to be more informed. So vote no on Measure Z. The government just wants to steal your labor. It's not a federal debt note they're stealing. They're stealing your hard-worked, hard-earned labor, okay? And it's unconstitutional under the Fifth Amendment. I don't care if you want to cite the 16th Amendment. That's illegal. It's illegal.
It was never properly ratified.
There you go. But most people don't know that, and they'll just cite that as the reason for the income tax. It's illegal. But folks, we have we were going to have a guest on, but apparently we can't get a hold of him. So it was going to be G.I. Jim. We might have to get him on another week to talk about
maybe in the second hour.
Maybe in the second hour, we'll see if we can get in touch with him and go over some prepping, some survival information. And he's very prepared. We've seen how prepared he is. He really knows his stuff. So hopefully we'll be able to get him on in the second hour. But while we wait, Sam, what do we got for news? What do we want to?
Stuart, the government's poisoning us. They're doing black military operations above our head. I advise everybody to look in the sky. This is nonsense. These are not contrails. These are chemtrails, some people call them, but the scientific term is geoengineering, stratospheric aerosol geoengineering, and solar radiation management. I challenge anybody listening to this broadcast to look up those terms, and they're very Orwellian about it, Stuart. Today is Wednesday, October 22nd, 2014, and in Fresno, California, they filled up the sky with these chemicals. They are spraying us without our consent. This is a crime against humanity. I am asking everyone with any type of brain at all to do some research about these facts.
Oh, looks like we got our guy online. Jim? Oh, I can't hear him. We got some. Hold on. Technical Jim?
Yes.
All right, now we got him. Jim Long is with us. We had some technical difficulties. We have him on now. Can you hear us okay, Jim?
I can hear you just fine.
All right, Sam.
How you doing, Jim?
Hey, absolutely phenomenal. It's always a pleasure to speak with you and Stuart on any type of subject.
So the main thing that I wanted to talk to you about a lot of stuff. We'll see how much time we can get in, Jim. Is this whole protest that was going on today? You were saying on some posts that you had that I had read about you had some inside sources in the law enforcement and fire. They were talking about this big police protest that was going on today. Can you give us some briefing about what you heard about it?
You know, I haven't heard what the results of the protests are because they're going on as we speak. I know there's one in Fresno across from the police department going on. I don't know what the turnout will be or anything like that, but anytime, one of the things that people don't realize is the county sheriff is she is the chief law enforcement officer, or he is the chief law enforcement officer in their county. No one has as much authority, not even the President of the United States, without her permission. Federal agencies and state agencies cannot operate in her county unless she authorizes it, or he authorizes it. So the reason I say she is we have a female sheriff in our county, and she's very, very constitutional. Sheriff Mims is absolutely phenomenal. I feel that these protests are being drummed up, and I believe they're being instigated by a federal government and the state government, which are totally out of control. And the reason I feel that they're doing this is to drag the law enforcement onto their side. And the county sheriff is our last hope. I mean, that is our only protection from federal and state government. And without them, we're naked. We have no protection other than ourselves. And so what I feel is that maybe some provocateurs are trying to incite these to become violent, which in turn would allow martial law to be declared. And when martial law is declared, we lose all constitutional guarantees of our unalienable rights, and elections are suspended, which leaves the status quo in place.
Wow, yeah, that's a definite possibility, right? Because of these protests, as we saw in Ferguson, which was a glaring example of the police state, the militarization of the police. All it takes is some provocateurs to go in there and throw a bottle, throw a Molotov cocktail, and boom.
You had a state senator from Missouri. I believe her last name is Nasheed, that gets busted. She has passed all kinds of anti-gun legislation and pushed it through. And she gets caught with a 9mm handgun with extra magazines and extra ammo. All she would have had to do was fire one shot in the air, and the deal was on.
Wow, it's just amazing.
It's the hypocrisy of the gun controllers, the authoritarians. The gun control is actually an authoritarian word, but people don't get that. They don't understand that, and we need to call them out for it because they're frauds.
True gun control is being able to hit your target.
Yeah. So, there you go.
So Jim, what we see just crisis after crisis. You know, we got this the whole martial law looming over our head, economic collapse, Ebola, bioweapons. And then we got the whole Agenda 21, right? We saw our forests burn. We went to the meetings. We told these people what is the correct action to take, which I believe they already knew. And we see all this. We see basically collapse in front of our eyes. So what's the mood of the people in your area? How are they feeling? I mean, how's the militia type people feeling?
Because of the the forest being, it's way overgrown. I mean, proper forest management is 80 to 100 trees per acre. We have 400 to 600 trees per acre. And this is a little message for the people of the Central Valley. If we just managed the Sierra National Forest and took it back to 80 to 100 trees per acre, you would free up 1.3 million acre-feet of water. That's enough to fill Millerton Lake 3 times or the Temperance Flat Dam when they build it. And you would not have any water shortage. We would still have a drought. They could eco-engineer all they wanted, but we would not have a water shortage in the Central Valley.
Wow, it's just amazing. And then but they're going to say that, it's the same old thing, and
right.
that you are against endangered species.
Right. Our problem that we have up here is this. They have destroyed all industry up here. The only industry we have is tourism and forest use and ski resort use. That's all we have. Because they've taken out the timber, they've taken out the logging, they've taken out the hydroelectric projects, all this, and it's all due to environmentalism. Yeah. These people are not environmentalists. I am an environmentalist. I want proper forest management. I want the water conserved and used to grow food and everything else. We have a situation that these people are eco-terrorists, and it's all about control, and that's what the government wants. They want to control. They do not want to serve.
Yeah, and essentially, your ski industry has been basically out of business, right? Because there hasn't been any snow, right?
I'll be honest with you. As I don't know if I'm going to put a little plug in. I own G.I. Jim's military surplus in Prather.
Oh, put all the plugs you want.
I went from January till May because of the drought with no paycheck out of my store. And the reason I'm able to keep it open is because I am fiscally responsible. All inventory in my store is paid for. I buy nothing on credit. My home is almost paid for. My vehicles are all paid for other than one. We buy my wife a new commuter every 5 years because she goes up and down the hill as a teacher. We are in a situation that we did the smart thing. where other people haven't. And these people, if you want to know what the mood is up here on this stuff, there is no mood. They don't care.
Yeah.
And the reason they don't care is they're scrambling and doing anything they can to make a living to keep their head above the water.
Yeah, so are we just being attacked at all levels with the geoengineering, with the environmental terrorists, with the government itself? I mean, basically, if people can't make a living, they're so frustrated with trying to make a living that they can't actually figure out why they can't make a living. And then,
Absolutely. And what it is, it's my big comparison is the Wizard of Oz. You're standing there and you're staring at this thing with all the smoke and mirrors, and it's paying no attention to the man behind the curtain.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like the Federal Reserve. No one knows that's even private.
That thing's chartered in Delaware, and it's a corporation. They post millions of dollars of profit every year.
Oh,
Come on,
yeah.
people, do your research. It's very simple. There is nothing federal, and there is absolutely, positively no reserve.
So
when Congress creates money, they make a bond. Okay?
Yeah.
The bond is what the currency that's printed on in the Federal Reserve is made from. If you look at the definition of the word bond in the dictionary, it says to subdue someone, i.e. ropes and chains. Bond is the root word of bondage.
Yep.
It's amazing, Jim. They're attacking us on all levels. The Agenda 21, and that was a good point that you made about the whole. And we haven't talked about that enough, I don't think. I mean, we've made videos about it. We went to their meetings, but I don't think that we've talked about it enough because the whole point about all the water loss due to the poor. Yeah, it's intentional at this point, to the intentional mismanagement of the forest.
It's an unhealthy force that leads to huge fires. I mean, I was a CAL FIRE firefighter, and you can catch these fires in 10 acres of forest is properly managed. Now we're harvesting burnt trees out of the forest instead of healthy trees out of the forest. What the heck is that? And you have all these spotted owls and all these frogs and toads that they're trying to protect. What happens to them? Basically, the environmentalists loved them to death.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the trees burn, and those frogs, those endangered species, they die anyway. Instead of healthy management of the forest, where they can actually survive, and we can also survive. But no. Us breathing is actually destroying the environment. That's causing the fires. So we need to put a carbon tax on everyone just to breathe and live. And we need to all live in a prison camp, basically, and not be able to go to the forest. Is basically what they're saying.
Exactly. And the other thing that people don't realize is that, they say, well, the Indians burned the forest. Well, yes, the Indians did, but they didn't have the fuel load that we've got in the forest now that has been created over the past 40 years of environmentalist action. When these fires burn, they sterilize the soil. Now, see, the Indians prevented that from happening. They burned it off every 3 to 4 years. Okay, and that was a whole different time and place. If you burn it off now, you wind up sterilizing the soil and nothing will grow again. It's very simple science, and people have forgot the simplicity, and they listen to the BS that is given them from these environmentalists and from that, and they're fed this. A lot of them don't even know what the hell they're talking about.
Well, yeah, and then I don't think they really get it. At the end game is basically a eugenics depopulation plan. So even these environmentalists, I mean, they're not at the top of the elite class. If we can't grow food and sustain people in the population, and if people don't have jobs and we're all dependent, I mean, it's not going to be good for everyone.
Did you look at the skies today above Fresno?
Oh, yeah. Sam posted a picture on Facebook.
And I posted a picture on Facebook.
Yep.
I'm sure that the people that are my friends have seen it that are listening. And I'm going to tell you something right now. Not only is that barium and aluminum, and in that, which creates all kinds. I mean, as this spraying went on today, it's the heaviest I've ever seen. As this spraying went on today, in 1/2 an hour, because I listened to a scanner, I heard 10 calls for difficulty breathing that CAL FIRE was responding to. And that's just CAL FIRE. That's not, I don't have Fresno Fire programmed into my scanner. That's just CAL FIRE. That's the outer lying unincorporated areas. You had 10 difficulty breathing calls in a half an hour. This is aluminum has been proven to cause Alzheimer's. Oh, we have people with COPD. We have people with asthma. And you've seen this increase in this since they've started this. And I mean, it's off the charts as to what's going on. This is population reduction. There is a 60% or better population reduction necessary for UN Agenda 21 to be invoked. In addition to this, you have Ebola. Now, whether there is an Ebola, true Ebola outbreak, because you know what, Ebola is a hemorrhagic fever, and I have seen no pictures of people bleeding out of their eyes, out of their ears, out of their mouths. That is the way a hemorrhagic fever progresses. And so I have a little. I wonder if this isn't to put fear into people's hearts and to allow them control. And what worries me is the fact, Ben Franklin was the one who said it best. He said, "Those who give up liberty for security deserve neither."
And will receive neither.
Yes.
So it's a lose-lose.
It is. It is definitely a lose-lose.
So, Jim, we have all these government-created crises, and then we also have natural disasters that can happen. And so how should people...
Absolutely. A natural disaster. I mean, California is primed and ready for the big natural disaster. All it will take is an earthquake in California and the power grid going down for 48 hours or more. When people cannot swipe their EBT card or their ATM card and get their Big Mac, you will have the zombie apocalypse. The entire population, I mean, I think it's in the United States, the average home has 3 days worth of food. Most of these people are 9 days away from starvation.
It's amazing. They don't even know it, and they don't seem to care about what's the real cause of our drought. I mean, people are showing up to these water meetings here in Fresno, but as has been reported by Doug Vigum, who's actually giving us an honest perspective, he says that it's just the same old jive, and the public is still mind controlled, and they are believing the lies. But
one thing that people don't realize is, in addition to that spray that they put up there in the air with these chemtrails, what it does is it blocks the sun.
Yep.
Global dimming.
When it blocks the sun, you do not get normal evaporation.
Yep.
I mean, how many times recently, we didn't have any of it all summer long while we had high pressure. The minute we start getting low pressure move in, they start spraying, and that's to prevent the rain. Now, when they lay this over the top, what happens is there's no normal evaporation. Now, 10 years ago, I'd be out here and I'd work in my yard, because I was a laid-off CDF firefighter, and I'd watch during the day, clear sky, and then as the sun heated up and everything, we get the evaporation that would go up. It would form clouds over the mountains above us and blow back over us, and by afternoon we had rain. If you prevent that from happening, I'm talking rain in the foothills. If you prevent that from happening, then you control the weather. And that is what this is about also. I mean, these guys are killing two birds with one stone. They're killing us, and they're preventing rain.
Yeah, and then what people don't get, I don't see how they get it. If they can't eat, they will die. So if we don't have water to feed the crops, then we will essentially not exist anymore. But while there's food still on the shelves as of right now, people think everything's okay. And I mean, most people would just think you're what you're talking about right now. They would just consider you a racist, conspiracy theorist, possible terrorist. I mean, just for having common sense.
I'm going to make two statements right now. The one statement is I have many tinfoil hats in my closet that gives me the option. The other statement I'm going to make is this. These people are so complacent.
Yeah.
They do not understand. And my point is this. As long as they can walk through the door and turn the air conditioning on.
Oh, yeah.
They can go to the refrigerator and get the bath ale. They can go to the computer, turn it on, and look at porn. They can go to the TV and turn the game on, and they dial the phone and order the pizza for delivery.
Yep.
They don't care about a damn other thing. And that is what infuriates me.
No, that's a good play-by-play. And when that pizza guy doesn't show up because there's no pizza because they don't have the flour because there's no food, people are going to start going crazy. And like you said, 48 hours of an EMP attack or no power, people can't swipe their EBT cards and get the free stuff that we've all paid for. Now, when that happens, and it will happen, they're going to beta test it probably before it actually happens. But what for the people that are awake and are prepared?
Have.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, they've done it in they've tried it in I think Louisiana. EBT cards weren't working, and people were they weren't working correctly, and there was riots, and the stores all the food was stolen. It's unbelievable.
They've already tested like we talked about earlier, where they have the possibility of the riots due to the police brutality responses and all this. I mean, let Officer Wilson in Missouri get acquitted, and you will see Rodney King all over again.
No, I agree. It's going to be bigger than the Trayvon. It's going to be bigger than Trayvon Martin.
Oh yeah, this is they've been playing this thing all along. It started with the Watts riots, and it gave them the idea. They proved it with Rodney King. Trayvon Martin situation was, they've been experimenting with this all along. And I mean, if anybody can't see that a lot of this is, because look at the way the government has treated us. You make a statement and you're racist.
Oh, yeah.
I tell everybody I'm racist. I love the Daytona 500.
Yeah, political correctness is killing any kind of actual real debate in this country. And it's killing this country is what it's doing, and giving it away to these psychopaths.
My parents raised me to be colorblind. And my dad told me that, and my brothers, he told us, if someone works as hard as you do, you respect them. If they work harder than you, you admire them and you emulate them. If they sit on their butt and ask for a handout, you despise them. But it has nothing to do with their race, creed, color, religion, or sexual preference.
Absolutely.
And you know what he said at the end was this. He said, so what I ask you boys is this: make every man respect you. Better yet, make them admire you and emulate you. That is my that. Now, I'd like to have somebody call me a racist after they heard that.
Well, Jim, We Are Change Fresno is listed as a hate group, and all we're trying to do is raise public consciousness level, and we're about peace, love, and liberty. But we know how much the government lies. So in our last 4 minutes, do you have any tips for people living in the valley about survival if any of these scenarios happen, the collapse scenarios that we go over?
Absolutely, absolutely. There are 5 Bs, and I call them the 5 Bs, which is beans, bullets, bullion, Band-Aids, and barter. Your money's not going to be worth anything. Your ABT card or your ATM card is not going to be worth anything. What you need to have is tangible goods that you can trade, sell, barter, whatever you need to do. I'll be honest with you. I'm a firm believer that 10/22 long rifle rounds will buy a chicken. Because the Federal Reserve note is nothing but a piece of paper that probably, if you used it as toilet paper, would give you a rash.
It's probably carrying viruses.
Yes, it is. And this is one of the things. Put yourself in a situation that you can defend your property. Make sure you've got some firewood in the backyard. The CARB and all these people tell, no, you can't burn a fire. Make sure you got some firewood, because if the power goes out, you're going to have to cook for your family one way or another. In your freezer, immediately you can start jerking your meat or whatever you have to do, as it comes out. But as stuff defrosts, you can take what you want to use out of the freezer and you can move it into the refrigerator. That keeps the stuff in the refrigerator cold, and the stuff in the freezer, it's kind of like putting ice in your ice chest. The same situation. Move something in there that you might be able to jerk into beef and let it defrost, and it keeps your refrigerator cold, and you just keep rotating this stuff out. You're probably going to have to dig a latrine in your backyard, because eventually the water is going to stop flowing. There's only so long that the water is going to flow. Fill your bathtub, because then you've got water, and make sure it's got a good plug in it. have your 48 hours worth of water and all this. I think now California is up to 96 hours worth of food and supplies that you should have for an earthquake. And if it starts getting rough, you need to get the hell out of town. And I mean, I hate to say that because you're all going to wind up here and expect me to take care of you, and I'm not going to do that, you know. I mean, if you walk up to my gate, be prepared to barter, not beg.
Oh, we'll barter. Jim, so we have about a minute and a half left. Do you have any websites, social media you want to give out? And also, are you running for school board? Are you still doing that?
No, I was actually going to run for supervisor.
Oh, supervisor.
District,
okay.
Yeah, District 5. I'm not. I'm still up in the air on that. I am considering a move out of state because of the repressive taxation and all this other stuff like that. And I'd hate to get into a situation where people, you know, support me and everything else like this, and then I bail on them. You know. There's a lot going through my mind. I've got, you know, it's 2016 is the election, so I've got some time to consider it. It's you know, I'd have to close my business. There's a lot of thought that goes into that.
No, yeah, and hey, yeah, it's getting bad, and I think a couple more years of this.
I don't think we're gonna last long enough to see that election.
I don't think California.
I'm sorry, it's true.
Yeah, and I definitely California will be one of the first states to go completely. But
right.
yeah,
you know, one of the things, if you guys got just this minute and a half, and I'll try and talk about it real quick. I
about
heard
30
today
seconds.
The city of Stockton has got a ruling from a judge that they only have to pay 40% of their stars and their PERS because of their insolvency. Now, I want you to think about that. How many other cities, big cities, have gone insolvent? And if they start being able to hedge down and not go through with a legal contract that they had to pay their retirees the money they're supposed to get, what is going to happen to all these teachers, all these retired firefighters, all these retired law enforcement people? What is going to happen?
All right.
They get maybe 30% of what they were supposed to get.
This show is sponsored by We Are Change Fresno. This show is sponsored by We Are Change Fresno.
Folks, we're back. This is We Are Change Fresno on 1680 AM. I'm your host, Stuart Webb, along with my co-host, Sam Chaney. If you were listening on the first hour, we had Jonie Larue, chairman of Measure Z, a No on Measure Z, and we also had G.I. Jim of preppingandsurvival.blogspot.com. He kind of got cut off at the end of the first hour, but we're going to have him on again, hopefully in the next month, to talk about some more prepping and some situations that what he would do in a certain situation if a collapse happened or a natural disaster. There's many situations that could happen, an Ebola outbreak in your area, and so it's very important to be prepared. And you need to have food storage, you need to have clean water, you need to have a bug out plan, you need to have you just need to have options, okay? Because just sitting down on the couch and watching the game and expecting it always to be there is just, it's really, really naive. And if you, in the interest of self-preservation, you need to have a backup plan, and also start promoting. You can't just be lackadaisical and apathetic to these kind of things, because you're gonna be put in situations, if this happens and when this happens, a collapse, you're gonna be needing to help your fellow man and also help yourself. So if you can't help yourself, you can't help your fellow man. So it's really your responsibility to be prepared for a collapse and to be ready to provide for your family and to provide for you and your friends. It's very important. And you know, it's common sense. So we need to not be so naive and think that the government is going to handle everything, because right now they're not handling anything. Okay. Oh, Ebola outbreak. Oh, Jim Costa, or one of our representatives from this area.
We'll get into that story.
We'll get into. Oh yeah, no, it's just fine. You know, everything's fine.
The czar of it. Sorry to get off on Ebola right now, Stuart, but the czar of it is a Harvard lawyer. He has no healthcare experience whatsoever. He's going in there to do damage control because they look like complete fools, which is what they are. You have to say at this point, they're intentionally mismanaging the Ebola crisis, if it's even real, just like they intentionally mismanaged the forest to cause it to burn. And so all that the government gives us is failed management of crisis, which the majority of are created by the government. Back to the Hegelian dialectic. They're using it against us and playing us like fools, and we're sick of it.
And these like lawyers and all these bureaucrats and people that think they're in the elite, which really they're just pawns and minions of the elite, they're selling out their soul for the short-term gain. Okay, because this country's gonna fall. Okay, now we might be propped up. The Fed might continue to try to fake it for as long as they can, but believe me, there will be wheelbarrows of cash rolled around to buy bread. And even at that point, I mean, if you're around a grocery store, it's probably not going to be the best idea because who knows what's going to be going on. But anyway, folks, go to preppingandsurvival.blogspot.com. Also, if you're in the Fresno area, vote no on Measure Z. We don't need the government spending more of our money, stealing it from us, and then spending it inefficiently. So we're going to get into some news on this second hour. We appreciate you joining us, and we appreciate the sponsors. So, Sam, what do we have on the agenda today?
Yeah, well, I want to say thank you to all our sponsors, all you We Are Change Fresno members. Thank you very much. We really appreciate all your help, all your support. We couldn't do the show without you. We look forward to working with you more in the future. This show is listener supported, so we need your help to either volunteer or to give us a financial donation to help us get through and continue this broadcast of truth. I suggest that if you've missed any of our broadcasts, you can go to our website, wearechangefresno.com, and you can see all of the past broadcasts loaded up there. We have a lot of great interviews, and we're going to continue to preach peace, love, and liberty and raise the consciousness level of Fresno until we can finally get over the hump and look past the illusion, look past the puppet masters, and pull back the curtain and point at that little man that's pulling the levers and call him out for being the evil scumbag that he is.
Yeah, it's important. You got to be in the arena, folks. We're all here. Reality, consciousness is amazing. Excuse me. And we're living in a movie, okay? When you watch The Matrix, and we'll go over...
It's 2014, Stuart.
Yeah, we've got an article here basically laying out how we are living in the Matrix right now currently. It's not a joke, folks. I mean, the television tells us what reality is, and we believe it, and we enjoy it, and we actually enjoy talking about it more than we enjoy talking about our own lives and our own dreams and our own goals. It's ridiculous, and we need to break through the mind control, and there's a lot going on, so we need to be involved, and it's important, and we can be the change we want to see. We can make a difference, so break the mind control. Okay, it's just, hey, and I know people are busy. I'm busy. I just was out of town for work. I didn't have hardly any time to listen to news or go over news. But right when I get back to it hard. Okay, and so you just got to figure out where your priorities are, and that might involve maybe going back to church or maybe praying a little bit, getting spiritually in tune. Because right now we're so focused on material objects and things that don't matter that we cannot be in tune with our own soul. Okay, and sorry to get spiritual, but it's just true. Okay, you cry when someone in your family dies, right? Why do you cry? Okay, because it's important. You love that person. I mean, there's a spiritual, emotional connection, and so stop caring about things that don't matter.
Stuart, everybody wants to escape from reality. I got news for you. There is no escape from reality.
Absolutely.
You can do all the drugs you want.
True.
You can drink all the booze you want. You can watch all the television you want. There is no escape from reality. And I know the mainstream media pushes fear-based mind control all day long, and everybody wants a break from it. But hey, it's time to get informed, to critically think, wise up for you and your children's future, your whole family's future, because we're getting near the end game, and this government is naked in their lies, fraud, and corruption. Stuart, our first story that I'm going to go over here is an AP investigation out of Europe shows that Nazi war crime suspects collected millions of dollars in U.S. Social Security.
Yeah, and I was reading this article, unbelievable, but we already knew this was going on because the people that run this country and behind the Federal Reserve, they're Nazis, okay? And you hear that. I know people will say that nonchalantly because they watch some Illuminati video on the YouTube or whatever and think they're informed. But really, that's the people that funded Hitler run the government, okay?
They're retiring on our Social Security. One of the guys that the story was about collected Social Security payment amounts of $1,500 a month, nearly twice what the average Croatian worker makes, where he retired to.
Yeah, and when I say Nazis, folks, I don't mean like Germans, okay? I'm talking about the Nazi agenda, the Nazi platform,
The Third Reich.
It is a eugenics based depopulation cult.
Death cult.
Basically, yeah. And Skull and Bones, Bilderberg Group, all these elitists, these
Black leather.
technocrats.
Look at their uniforms. They wear black leather with death heads on them. It's a death cult.
So when we say Nazis, we can liken it to what we saw with the Nazis, but really it's just a depopulation death cult that runs that's in contact with the devil. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. They're in contact with demons, and they're trying to run society, and they are the masters of deceit, and we need to break through the mind control. I mean, they're paying the taxpayers. We've been paying
That's
Nazi
where some of your
collaborators through
Social
our
Security that you pay out of your payroll tax went to prop up this guy's high living in Croatia after he committed war crimes for the Nazis during World War II.
And in the article, it talks about it points out the fact that our own government bureaucracy will put you in jail, or fine you, or put you on trial for having the wrong font on a Cal OSHA poster in a bathroom at your business. But no, the taxpayers have to pay Nazis still until they die. That's just the kind of people that run this government, run our country. That's the kind of people that we have in power. And for us to just say, whatever, that's not okay anymore. Get up off your butts and do something about it. Even if you just make your own YouTube channel, get on the radio somehow, call in radio stations, post on Facebook, go out and protest, spend your money at a local business. I mean, there's so many ways that you can fight the system. Stop watching the game all the time, okay, and just following the Kardashians and the random whoever's big in the music industry, just jumping on the trend wagon. Just quit it, okay? Start fighting tyranny and then enjoy yourselves after, okay? Because once you start fighting tyranny, you won't want to do anything else. I mean, really, you'll actually figure out what it is to live and to be alive, because we're in a movie, okay?
Stuart, it's reality is very invigorating, and the fight for freedom and liberty is eternal, and that should get people fired up to go out there and see what's really going on, rather than the false reality that this establishment is projecting upon us. Moving on to the second story here, Stuart. The UN wants to go into Detroit now and go ahead and act like they have some say in the city's water supply, because a lot of people in Detroit City, Michigan, have had their water cut off because of exorbitantly high water prices. And so the UN is going to go in there now and actually give recommendations about what the city should do. How does one world government, the United Nations, have any place in a United States city?
Yeah, it's unconstitutional for them to even be. I mean, they have no authority here at all. So for the Detroit area to even consider them, use them as consultants, I mean, I look at it as treason. I mean, the UN is a treasonous entity because it compromises the Constitution. It compromises our sovereignty. So the UN is an evil entity, and anyone who consults with the UN should be investigated for treason, honestly.
Well, it looks like we're already living under one world government. The UN's telling Detroit how to rate their water.
Well, and they're saying they try to package it as a human right to have water. Well, of course, you have the right to the free market and resources and property and things like that, but you don't have a right for the UN to dictate to our country. They don't have a right to do anything. They have no authority, and it admits in the article, well, they have no authority. If they have no authority, then why are they even in the conversation, and how are they going to get things done if they have no authority? And I don't agree with them even being there. So how are they going to solve Detroit's water issue? It just doesn't make any sense, and I believe it to be treasonous. Any involvement in the UN, okay? And we've seen presidents cite the UN resolutions to go to war unconstitutionally. It's unbelievable. And now Detroit, the UN's going to come in and help us. The world government is going to solve our issues. No, they're literally going to enslave you, okay? And there's going to be you'll get your ration of water if you comply with their rules.
Yeah, it's Agenda 21, deindustrialization of America. Detroit was once a great city, and now look at the shape of it. Under Democratic control, might I add, for at least the last 40 years. And you can see what this globalist, socialist government does to a once prosperous industrial city in America. Detroit is a shining example of UN Agenda 21.
And the UN is a foreign entity. Imagine if Chinese consultants or Russian consultants just came over and said, "Oh, I think you should do this," and no, that would be looked at as a treasonous act, right?
Where's their local government? The guys are getting paid right now to manage this thing. Where are these people? Why are they not standing up and saying, "We will take care of our own business here. Get out of town, globalist UN."
Yeah, and instead they're welcoming them.
It's open treason.
Yep.
Moving on here to some more fraud from the economic data that has been released. It says that this is an article out of Fresno County joblessness rate hits single digits for the first time in 6 years. So the mainstream media is continuing to lie to us, telling us how the economy has recovered from the 2008 housing crash, which is a complete and utter lie. And they're going to continue to rig the numbers and now say that since we're at 9.5% unemployment in Fresno County, we are looking great.
Oh, yeah, it's improved so much. All that Fed pumping in that money. But really, the only reason it's even at that rate right now is because, like it says in the article, it's harvesting season. And once that ends, it's gonna shoot back up. I mean, and they don't tell you, are these all full-time jobs? Are these full-time, well-paying jobs that are sustainable, Sam? Are they just?
No, they admit in the article the majority of the increase, or actually decrease, in unemployment is due to seasonal labor, and they don't count the people who have given up. Discouraged workers and displaced workers are not counted in these labor statistics whatsoever. And that's back to the rigged numbers, which they changed, I think it was in 1983. And they continue to feed us a steady diet of lies.
Yeah, folks, about a third of this country is unemployed. And not only are they unemployed, they're getting government assistance. It's over 100 million people now in some form are getting government assistance or being subsidized by the taxpayers. Just their life is, okay? And so we need to quit being naive. The unemployment rate is like 30%.
You know where the other big increase came from? The largest increase was actually not seasonal workers, according to this article. It was government workers.
Yep.
And so government is not an industry. They do not create jobs. All they do is figure out ways to rip off the taxpayer. Man, the Fresno County Health Department is a shining example of a total failed system. We have no more mental health in this county. We have no more STD clinics. We have no more county hospital. And it just goes on and on and on to the deterioration of the public services that our tax money is supposed to pay for. Look at Fresno County Health Department. It's a shining example of government failure.
Yeah, and so if you just give everyone a government job, it doesn't mean that anything was created or anything was produced. In fact, you were actually taking away more from the producers, because remember, if you get every government job takes away from the private sector, takes away from a producer, they have to pay for that government bureaucrat to be there. And then the second, so we had the most growth in government jobs, a complete joke. The only reason that's sustainable right now is because we print money, and taxation. But then the second was also leisure and hospitality industry, which what does that mean? Oh, yeah, restaurants, bars, okay? So more people are drinking. More people are using their EBT cards.
That's what happens in a depression, Stuart.
Exactly. So those are two signs of the coming collapse of the dollar, and it's not going to.
If nobody's working in the private sector,
who's going to pay for the lifestyles?
Then everybody can work for government. Who are they going to tax?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't. This system does not work.
It does not work, and the UN is not the answer.
You mean one world government's not going to save us? One world currency?
Yeah. You know what? That's I don't know. Maybe that's the answer. Maybe that's the answer. We've given up.
Well,
no, we're gonna battle. We're gonna battle these tyrants. It's unbelievable. The UN's a criminal scum entity. Okay.
And I would say at this point, the state of California is too, because their globalist socialist utopia that the Democrat monopoly at the Sacramento State House has created is a record high poverty rate for the state of California. We have the highest poverty rate in the nation. Look at who runs our government, monopolized by Democrats. So as you can see, it's a total failed system, but they continue to hire more workers.
Yeah, and they say something like 8 million people in this state alone are living in poverty. And those people,
8.9 million.
And there's
almost 9 million.
Almost 9 million people in poverty, and it's just crazy to think about. They're living a low standard, but if you go to other countries, third world countries, everyone's living in poverty or a large amount, way more than that. But it's just we know it's going to be bad because the people that are living in so-called poverty, they don't even work. They get free stuff.
No, it's actually a high level of poverty compared to the rest of the world.
You just get a check. So it's not like you're
based
slave
on
labor.
federal government numbers.
Yeah, it's not like you're in Mexico, when you go visit Mexico and the little kids are literally slaves for whoever to sell their little candies. I mean, you don't even have to do that in America and you're living in poverty. You're living good in poverty. But it just shows that this will end.
It's part of the Cloward and Piven plan. I would continue to preach to you on this show to collapse America under the weight of the welfare state.
Yeah, and it scares me even more, though, because I think that the people on government assistance have been so sheltered and so, cushioned that they won't be able to handle having to go out and literally work to get food when this whole thing comes down. They won't be able to handle it. But at least people in third world countries have learned, have adapted. Yeah, they haven't gotten the liberty, but they know how to survive in under tyranny. But so it scares me a little bit that so many people are on the government dole because they're actually living pretty comfortably right now. I mean, that'll change, and who knows what will happen. But folks, we got to take a quick break. Here's a word from our sponsors.
Do you love supporting local businesses? Do you want to help them succeed? So do we. The Thrifty Nickel Want Ads is a family-owned business that has been a big part of the local community for over 30 years. Our goal is not only to produce a paper that is not only successful, but enduring. We are looking for experienced outside sales representatives to help grow and expand the Central Valley's favorite classified paper while creating successful marketing campaigns that will increase business for their clients. If you care about better working relationships with local businesses, then we want to hear from you. 50% commission of every new contract acquired. If interested, contact Art at thriftynickelwantads.com or call 559-472-7182.
Listen up, Fresno. Are you tired of boring local news coverage? Then log on to FresnoForward.com, the Central Valley's #1 source for independent, local, and alternative news and views. FresnoForward.com is updated daily, bringing you stories on government corruption, local activism, Fresno culture, and so much more. Did I mention FresnoForward.com has no ads or signups required? FresnoForward.com. You'll love it.
We all know that a natural disaster, EMP attack, and martial law are a real possibility. Prepare before the crisis because FEMA can't and won't keep you safe. Tops Military Supply. Veterans serving veterans, their families, and the community. Visit us at 605 West Shaw, Suite A, Clovis, California, or call us at 559-298-6001.
It's time for smart leadership at Fresno Unified. My name is Brooke Ashton, and I'm a proud parent running for Fresno Unified School Board to represent the Bullard area. I'm a businessman and farmer who's raised Bullard High graduates and have a deep family connection to Bullard. I've seen firsthand the struggles facing Fresno Unified, and I'm ready to make our schools better. I'm proud to have the support of current trustee Michelle Azadorian, Mayor Ashley Swearingen, Police Chief Jerry Dyer, Sheriff Margaret Mims, District Attorney-elect Lisa Smitkamp, and so many other community leaders. It's time to close the quality gap between Bullard and Clovis schools by being actively involved on campus. And we need to take bigger steps with the DA's office to end our dropout epidemic. We must bring back vocational training in technology, engineering, and agriculture that can guarantee jobs and opportunities for our kids after graduation. I'm Brooke Ashton, and together we can fix Fresno Unified from the paving up. Paid for by Brooke Ashton for School Board 2014.
Folks, we're back. This is We Are Change Fresno on 1680 AM here in Fresno. I'm your host, Stuart Webb, along with my co-host, Sam Chaney. We appreciate our sponsors and our listeners. We couldn't do this without you, and we really appreciate it. We can't say it enough. I'm sorry we've been, talking about this a lot this show, but really, this show wouldn't happen if we didn't have some sort of support. I mean, me and Sam can only do so much before it's just overwhelming, and we really want to continue this broadcast, and we hope it goes for another 6 months. I mean, we're on our 5th month now, and we're proud of it, and we really appreciate the listeners, and we want to continue fighting tyranny, and we will, no matter what, but you help us do that, and you can help others do that. Start your own YouTube channel, start your own radio show, podcast. There's so many ways to fight tyranny. Buy books, start reading them, and start having conversations with people. Just be in the arena and encourage other people to be in the arena and talk about issues. I mean, we need to talk to each other about what's going on. Just burying your head in the sand is not the answer. Okay, so whatever you got to do, I know it's kind of scary to start, but really, we're built for this. Okay, humans are worth something. Okay, we're not the scum that they try to tell us that you need to pay us to breathe. We know best. Normal people can't make their own decisions. I mean, that's basically what Obama's literally has said. Normal people, just ordinary people, can't make decisions for themselves. So we need to fight these scumbag tyrants, and any way we can. Sam, what do we got for the rest of the hour?
Before I get back into the news, Stuart, this is listener-supported show. We appreciate all our sponsors. I want to let everybody know and reiterate, we are living through the globalist, technocrat, scientific dictatorship business plan about how to control all population by getting rid of it and all resources on this planet, which they've staked a claim to. We are living through their business plan. It's time to wake up, shake the cobwebs out of your fluoride-filled brain, and catch a grip on reality and start taking action to change this, because this is not a foregone conclusion. As we've gone over the show, on the show before, there's somewhere between 10,000 and 6,000 world managers, as is written in Rothkopf's book. And I suggest everybody take a look at it, because these people project that they are Big Brother and omnipresent and undefeatable. And so that discourages a lot of good patriots, a lot of good people to just do nothing. Well, doing nothing is certainly not going to change anything. Doing a little bit each day, starting small, talk to your friends and family, expand from there. And we can be the change we wish to see in this world and raise humanity up rather than push it down to the third world or even below that levels. Stuart, into the news now. This is unbelievable what's going on in the North Carolina Senate race. These people have put in over $100 million into the race for U.S. Senator to be a public servant, a civil servant. Republican Tom Tillis and Democrat Kay Hagan are battling it out, putting $100 million into their campaign. I mean, it's out of this world. They're paying this much money to be a civil servant.
Yeah, and they're really paying that for. They think that they're gonna have some power.
The big donors are for the Republicans, the Koch brothers and Art Pope, and for the Democrats, George Soros and Michael Bloomberg. Your usual globalist suspects, and it's just disgusting that they can buy this Senate race, and we can't even have an honest debate about real issues because it's all paper, plastic, fake garbage.
Absolutely. I wonder how many times any of those candidates mentioned liberty at all in their platform. Probably not any of them. But these candidates are funded by the same people. We see the Koch brothers funding both parties. I mean, but it's not even about them. It's just about these billionaires like Michael Bloomberg. They can just throw around $50 million like it's nothing because they're tax exempt and they're an insider, global elitist, and they fund both sides. How could you actually spend $100 million for a Senate race? It's just unbelievable.
That's one vote in the Senate.
Yeah, and
the federal government doesn't listen to Congress anyway.
Exactly. So really, they're
just all political theater at this point.
There you go. So that seat won't really mean anything. The only reason I would say that it would mean something is if you actually spoke out like Ron Paul and spoke about liberty, since you have that voice, that platform, that seat, that Senate seat. But they're not going to do any of that. So really, it doesn't even matter. All they want to be is a minion of the global elite, basically of the global world government that they're putting in place. And honestly,
selling out their own future and their children's own future.
Exactly, selling their soul literally, because there's no future in the world. The eugenics the plan to depopulate this planet and
well, the plan's to upload your consciousness to a computer and live forever.
There you go, and that'll be the mark of the beast for sure. And so really, there's
Totally disconnect from reality into virtual reality.
$100 million. $100 million for a Senate race. Just think about that, for one spot.
That's so
one
far.
seat.
I'm sure they'll spend a lot more before the election.
It said in the article, 80,000 ads were ran on television by October 13th. Okay, 80,000. It's unbelievable. For what? Are they gonna? Are these representatives? Are they actually gonna try to I don't know, reinstate the Constitution? No. So who cares? It doesn't even matter. Their seat means nothing if you're not speaking about liberty, going back to the Constitution, getting rid of throwing out all these illegal laws. There's thousands of illegal laws, literally, and if they're not willing to do that, there's no point. There is literally no point. $100 million for what? It's all that money was fiat anyway that the insiders got. How can Michael Bloomberg afford to spend $50 million? Just there's $50 million here to that. Here's a gun control group. Here's $50 million. They're tax exempt, okay, and they also get that new money first because the Fed doesn't answer to Congress unless the Congress abolishes it. That's the only way they'll end it, but it will never happen because Congress is all funded by the people that run the Fed. Get with it, folks. Everything's fun. If you're not a Rand Paul or a Ron Paul, or a liberty lover that's literally speaking out against the elite, you are funded by the same people, okay? Sorry, that's just the way it is when it really comes down to it.
Globalist technocrats. Moving on here, Stuart, to our next story. U.S. humanitarian aid is going to ISIS. Not only are foodstuffs, medical supplies, even clinics going to ISIS. The distribution networks are paying ISIS taxes and putting ISIS people on their payroll. So as you can see, as we continue to reiterate, the war on terror is a complete fraud. We're funding our enemy, and they want to send U.S. troops over there to die. It costs $1 million to blow up a Toyota pickup. This is just another wealth transfer to the military-industrial complex, and also to bring a false flag to the shores of America and take away more of our Bill of Rights through a false flag attack, which the United States could very possibly let ISIS do at any time. And I'm at a loss for words, Stuart. It makes me very sick to my stomach to see that this is all wide out in the open, and people still say we got to go kill the cartoon characters from ISIS.
Yeah, because they want to root for the Cowboys on Sunday. Look, what Sam said about the transfer of wealth to the military-industrial complex, that is exactly what it is. The taxpayers of America are paying for the military-industrial complex, and I don't know, you've heard that before, and I know we talk about it, but the war's never going to end. It won't
end when you continue to fund your enemy. We're going to the United States federal government is going to make sure that they're talking about this could be a 30-year war against ISIS.
Oh, of course. So the transfer of wealth, which is any kind of foreign aid, which is also humanitarian aid. I know you want to feel good about just sending some food over to war-torn countries.
It feels good to kill scary men in black masks.
In the Mortal Kombat uniforms, Mortal Kombat costumes. And so really that's what it is. The war's never going to end because there was never a war declared. Okay, there's no clear goal. Ron Paul goes over this. We funded Israel. We funded Lebanon when they were fighting each other. We funded Israel and then gave humanitarian aid to Lebanon. So we funded both sides. Okay, how do you beat the enemy if you're helping the enemy? Okay, because it's a management. It's not a win or lose. They want to manage everything. They want a controlled conflict that they control. And remember, like in Vietnam, U.S. troops were actually told to stand down from their enemy at times because they didn't want to end the war because then the money would stop. Okay, they need to drain the taxpayers and pump the Fed, let the Fed pump money in order to continue this conflict, which will then we'll have to rebuild it as well. So then there's more money that has to be pumped into that. So it's just it's constant chaos and it's destabilization, and we're paying for it. And yes, like Sam said, how do you win if you're funding the enemy?
That's how they love to fund every war since at least World War II, and that's all on record. Fund both sides, and I guess you never lose, but you never win either. Yeah. And just like General Smedley Butler said, war is a racket in the book he wrote. It's all on record, folks. Please do some time and research false flag attacks against America. False flag attacks are a military fighting tactic that the military uses. It's very well known. I advise everyone look up what a false flag attack is because they can use one at any time against us to take away more of our liberties and Bill of Rights. Wow, Stuart. Moving on here to some finally good news. Some real men, some real civil servants actually stood up and said, no, we've had enough of this corruption. And it was 44 police officers who I want to give credit to said they have no more faith in corrupt leadership and they want their chief fired. This is a story out of Asheville Police Department in North Carolina.
Yeah, and I believe that in the article it said the chief encouraged one of the officers to lie about something that happened to his son because his son was in some sort of an accident, and he just encouraged him to lie. I mean, even people that work for the government, I mean, not everyone's bad that works for the government. We're not saying that.
I'd say the majority are good. They're just compartmentalized.
They're compartmentalized, and they're seeing now that the morale of just the recklessness and the, well, we can do whatever we want. I mean,
your leadership are complete liars. You can't trust what they're saying. You can't trust the briefings. I mean, they're briefing law enforcement that We Are Change is a hate group. The Southern Poverty Law Center is briefing law enforcement. Let me say that again, that we're a hate group. Go look at our interview we did last week and tell me that we are a hate group and we're against black abortion. Excuse me. You are getting... Hey, law enforcement, you're getting bogus briefings. And I think that you know this. And they're briefing that everyone... even people, 73 different identities that people in America identify with can be listed as domestic terrorists, all the way to Christian identity. Someone that knows the Bill of Rights and Constitution and will speak out for their rights is listed as a domestic terrorist. You're getting bogus briefings. The Founding Fathers are not terrorists. Anybody telling you that is treasonous and probably working for the British Crown.
Yeah, and I applaud these police officers for standing up and be putting their jobs on the line because, hey, you're not going to have a job if this all goes under. And you know, when your police chief tells you to lie, if it would be only in the interest of self-preservation would you not want to work for that person and actually expose that corruption, because you can see on the other side, if you're on the other side of that, okay, you don't want that happening to you.
What's the next lie? And then,
exactly.
And then when
does it end?
There is no integrity. There is no professionalism, and it devolves into total chaos, and it's just a gang of armed thugs running around at that point.
Yeah, and it's kind of similar to the whole porn star analogy that Alex Jones makes. You know, you used to be able to make money doing porn. Now every girl does it seems. So they've all sold out, and now there's no morale, there's no integrity, and they've sold their soul, and they have nothing to show for it. When everyone sells out, that's when it all ends. If you don't have principles, what's the point? I mean, if everyone just says, "Oh, you know, I'm gonna let George Bush sign the Patriot Act, and I'm gonna give him this pass just this once." Well, no, now look where we are, because it's the frog in the boiling water. You know, you throw him in the boiling water, he's gonna jump out. But if you incrementally just compromise and give up your principles, it's all going to come down, and that's what's happening. So we applaud these police officers for standing up and being willing to say, I'm not gonna be involved in a corrupt entity.
Yeah, that's what everyone needs to start doing if you care about your family's future, because living in some kind of collapsed third world banana republic corrupt style system is no way to live at all. That's why all these immigrants are coming to America. I mean, man.
What's left of it.
Yeah, what's left of it. They're coming into a high-tech scientific dictatorship. Little do they know. But Stuart, moving on here back to the watch list. The federal government is issuing watch list guidance to their law enforcement officers with no kind of oversight, and it's not even clear, and they're doing... If anybody's familiar with the Minority Report movie, where this Big Brother computer Orwellian system could predict crime before it actually happened, and they would send out these lotto balls, and they would pick them up and go, "Oh, Joe Blow is planning on doing a crime sometime in the future, so we need to preemptively interject and stop it." And so that's essentially what they're doing with these security briefings. The Department of Homeland Security is calling people terrorists without any kind of due process, without any kind of logic or reason. They're just, picking lottery balls at this point.
It's funny that you mentioned Minority Report. I own that movie because it's an amazing movie, and everyone should watch it and own it, honestly. I was watching it with a couple of my friends, and because they hadn't seen it, and I explained to them that the precogs in the movie, that is Google, okay? Google can predictively basically figure out what you're going to do next. I mean, because if they monitor every action you take on the internet, and they monitor your cell phone, where you go, where you've been, they can predict where you're going to go. So they're also planning on being able to take you out, like Sam said, take preemptive action, because they can now technically predict the future, or at least they say that they can, and you're a threat. And also in the last Captain America movie, Winter Soldier, they take out literally what was it called? Basically have a program that has a plan to take out 25 million people all at once, because it's predicted that they're going to resist the tyranny that they're trying to implement. So there's a lot of great messages in movies that we can learn from and realize that it's actually happening now.
It's predictive programming.
It's predictive programming, and we need to understand that we are there right now. And so it's not a joke, and we need to be aware of it. And they're starting, like, Christianity, really? I mean, Christian identity, you could be a terrorist. I mean, Christian identity, you are now a threat. You may not submit to the satanic cult religion that they want us under.
You may
under
not
the one
take
world government, the mark
chip.
of the beast. There you go. So if you resist that, you're now a threat. So if you're religious, get up off your butt.
It's incredible, Stuart. Now let's move on to the 13 signs you are living in the Matrix. Okay, I walk outside and I try to talk to people, and it's disturbing, and so that's why we need to work hard now while we have time to wake people up, raise their consciousness level. The first sign is you talk to real people about TV shows and the fake characters involved.
If you go down this list, I was reading it and I was like, yep, this is the society we live in. So people care more about, and look, I understand that people have their guilty pleasures and they want to enjoy themselves. All I ask is you fight tyranny first, and then you can enjoy yourself. But you need to fight tyranny first. That is the number one priority. And but folks, we're gonna take a quick break and then come back to this list, because it's unbelievable. We're living in the Matrix. Folks, here's a word from our
Supporting
sponsors.
local businesses? Do you want to help them succeed? So do we. The Thrifty Nickel Want Ads is a family-owned business that has been a big part of the local community for over 30 years. Our goal is not only to produce a paper that is not only successful, but enduring. We are looking for experienced outside sales representatives to help grow and expand the Central Valley's favorite classified paper, while creating successful marketing campaigns that will increase business for their clients. If you care about better working relationships with local businesses, then we want to hear from you. 50% commission of every new contract acquired. If interested, contact Art at thriftynickelwantads.com or call 559-472-7182.
Listen up, Fresno. Are you tired of boring local news coverage? Then log on to FresnoForward.com, the Central Valley's #1 source for independent, local, and alternative news and views. FresnoForward.com is updated daily, bringing you stories on government corruption, local activism, Fresno culture, and so much more. Did I mention FresnoForward.com has no ads or signups required? FresnoForward.com. You'll love it.
We all know that a natural disaster, EMP attack, and martial law are a real possibility. Prepare before the crisis, because FEMA can't and won't keep you safe. Tops Military Supply. Veterans serving veterans, their families, and the community. Visit us at 605 West Shaw, Suite A, Clovis, California, or call us at 559-298-6001.
It's time for smart leadership at Fresno Unified. My name is Brooke Ashton, and I'm a proud parent running for Fresno Unified School Board to represent the Bullard area. I'm a businessman and farmer who's raised Bullard High graduates and have a deep family connection to Bullard. I've seen firsthand the struggles facing Fresno Unified, and I'm ready to make our schools better. I'm proud to have the support of current trustee Michelle Azadorian, Mayor Ashley Swearingen, Police Chief Jerry Dyer, Sheriff Margaret Mims, District Attorney-elect Lisa Smitkamp, and so many other community leaders. It's time to close the quality gap between Bullard and Clovis schools by being actively involved on campus. And we need to take bigger steps with the DA's office to end our dropout epidemic. We must bring back vocational training in technology, engineering, and agriculture that can guarantee jobs and opportunities for our kids after graduation. I'm Brooke Ashton, and together we can fix Fresno Unified from the paving up. Paid for by Brooke Ashton for School Board 2014.
Folks, we're back. This is We Are Change Fresno on 1680 AM. I'm your host, Stuart Webb, along with my co-host, Sam Chaney, and our producer, Woody. Woody?
Yeah?
It's the fourth quarter, man. It's crunch time.
Crunch time!
We're going to cover some really important articles to finish off this last segment of our 2-hour broadcast. We appreciate the listeners. And you can find our work at our YouTube channel. We are Change Fresno TV. Just search it on YouTube, and you can post the video of our episode online, social media. Share it with your friends. Encourage them to listen. If you're in the Fresno area, you can listen online. Just go to www.my1680.com. Sam, what do we have on this last segment?
Number 2 on the 13 signs you're living in the Matrix are you drink fluoridated water and you don't have a problem with it, even though Harvard studies tell us it reduces children's IQ. And if you look at the back of your fluoride toothpaste, it tells you swallow more than a dime-sized drop of it and call poison control. It's a neurotoxin giving you brain damage, and people don't have a problem drinking it.
No, and you know what? I've switched toothpaste. See, we have to start being the change we want to see. I go with the non-fluoride toothpaste because I take also Fluoride Shield off of InfoWarsLife.com. And so I don't want to be putting more fluoride into my body when I'm trying to get as much as I can out. And if you take that stuff, stuff will come out of your body. It's came out of my body, and it's just amazing how much toxins are in your body that you need to be. It needs to be pulled out of you. It needs to be pushed out. And putting more fluoride into your body is going to lower your IQ. It's going to make you apathetic, and it's going to make it harder for you to fight tyranny. Real quick, back to the number 1 on the list. You talk to real people about TV shows and the fake characters involved. Okay, this is the world we live in. Everyone talks about TV shows like they are vicariously living through the characters. And when you're literally involved in a movie, we are battling tyrants. We are battling evil right now. And if you're not doing that, if you don't admit that there is an evil entity agenda that is going on right now, and you can do something about it, you need to start realizing that. Because talking about that show that you're binge watching, I mean, how many shows until we realize that we're unfulfilled? Start fighting tyranny if we want to have a future. Live in the real world. And hey, occasionally watching a TV show, that's totally fine. Watching a movie, I like to watch movies, but fight tyranny first, then enjoy yourself.
I try not to watch television, Stuart. It's
too much going on.
It's a method of mind control, and I'm aware of it.
Yeah.
And so be aware, television equals mind control. Okay. Do you want to be a dumb down sheeple, or do you want to be a man that actually takes action in this life and leaves some type of a good world for you and your family in the future? Okay. Because in the future, maybe the very near future, people are going to ask, what did you do to fight this tyranny that was right in your face? Did you do anything? And what is your answer going to be? That's the question I have for our audience. I hope I stood up and I did every damn thing I could do. All right, moving on here to number 3. You knowingly take aspartame, which they've changed the name to amino sweet now, which is a genetically modified E. coli feces, essentially. And so that's in a bunch of products and other chemical toxins. And so be aware that this stuff's out there and try to get around it. I mean, it's in everything.
It's in Diet Coke, and everyone drinks Diet Coke. And it's also in gum, so be aware of that. It's a poison.
Definitely do not let children have this poison. Genetically modified E. coli feces. The doctor can't help you anymore. And so I'm going through this right now, Stuart, with my daughter. We have my daughter, and the first thing that the doctors want to do is give her GMO formula, right? Or no, I'm sorry. The first thing they want to do is inject her with the hepatitis B vaccine.
Unbelievable.
Which is full of all kinds of toxic chemicals. How does a 12-year-old newborn baby get exposed to hepatitis B? Through hospital negligence, I could see is the only way. And so she doesn't need that vaccine. So that's the first thing. Then they tried to give her GMO formula. The second ingredient was high fructose corn syrup. The fourth ingredient was GMO soy. And so that right there is very offensive to me. And then this last visit that we went to this week for her 6-month checkup, they prescribed a multivitamin with, guess what was in it besides the multivitamins? Yeah, that's right, fluoride.
Wow. And when a baby's born, their immune system doesn't even develop for 6 months. So they develop all those things in those 6 months. Okay, we can't be shooting them up with vaccines right when they're out of the womb. It's not natural, and we know what's in them. Ask what's in them. Okay, so do what Sam's doing. Stand up for your children. Stand up for yourself. Don't let these scumbags tell you what you can put in your own child's body, okay? And don't let them tell you that they know best, because they don't, okay?
They don't. I challenge anybody to search Harvard study. Fluoride reduces children's IQ level. It's all on record, and it's a crime against humanity that this stuff's still going on. Moving on here, Stuart. You don't mind the government sticking their nose in your personal life.
Yeah, remember, what do you have to hide? The NSA needs to spy on you because of terrorists. I don't have anything to hide. What do you have to hide? It's utterly ridiculous. And do you want to live in a glass house? Oh, hey, how about give me your email password if you have nothing to hide? Oh, wait, you don't want. It's only the government you're okay with basically being involved in your life and having their nose in everything you do. And that's just so naive, and it's just stupid. It's stupidity. So stop being naive and being basically just a mind-controlled drone. Listening, and that statement is just so ignorant. Oh, I have nothing to hide. Okay, if you have nothing to hide, then can I move in? Can I put a video camera in your room just to make sure that you have nothing to hide? Because you said you had nothing to hide.
Well, the government does have video cameras all over the place.
They have them on your phone. They have them on your laptop. We're watching us right now.
It's disgusting. The government funds ISIS, okay? It's disgusting. They're not keeping us safe. Number 6 on this list, you pay taxes and have no idea what happens with the money afterwards.
Yeah, and to be honest, we don't know. I don't know. Where does the money go? All we know is that we know that we don't know. And we know that it's not being used correctly, and it's illegally stolen from us. And so, yeah, we need to understand that taxes, it's just, at this point, it's just very illegitimate, all of it. So if you don't care where your money goes and you just say, oh, taxes, oh, complain, be apathetic, and just, oh, man, the DMV sucks. I hate going to the DMV. But then you continue to just vote for these scumbags and not care about anything, and then realize when you don't have a job or you're unemployed, you think that it's somehow someone else's fault when you know why. It's your fault. You didn't stand up, and you didn't call out the criminals and the scumbags.
It's time to take action. Number 7 on this list, Stuart, your history books can't lie. When we know they're published by the globalists. Take a look. McGraw-Hill, for example, is a major textbook publisher and links right back to globalist corporations. And so the victor of the war is who writes the history books. And so just know that.
Yeah, and all the books that Sam and I read, and a lot of our people we work with read and promote, none of those will be found in a public school. Okay, the public school is it's literally dumbed down so they don't talk about anything of value. You'll learn more in the Ron Paul book, Foreign Policy of Freedom, Peace. I forgot what it's called, but it's Foreign Policy of Freedom. I've read it. You will learn more about what this country's done in the last 40 years than any history class will tell you, or any history book in a public school will teach you about. And that goes for all the books that we read and promote.
Read the Secrets of the Federal Reserve by Eustace Mullins. It's all congressional record.
There you go.
And figure out what's going on in this world. Moving on, banishing open-minded scientists with skepticism.
Well, it's sad because everyone I talk to, they're not so much now, but basically all my friends, they used to call me a kind of a kook, and they kind of laugh off when I talk about serious issues. Well, they don't make fun of me anymore. Let's just say that, because everything that I was talking about years ago, and the thing is, most of these people, and including my friends, they know what's going on. They just don't. They're scared. They don't want to address it, because if you address it, you have to do something, and that's just apathy and laziness. Sorry, get up off your butts and admit something's going on. Don't bury your head in the sand and say that you're a conspiracy theorist. If you say, hey, the Federal Reserve, it's private, that's congressional record.
Stuart, you are devastated by your football team's loss, but you don't care about the worsening environment all around you.
Oh, well, that is true, and we see it all the time, and we continue to see it. Things get worse. People care more about their sports teams because the economy is doing so bad. Let's just care more and more about things that don't matter, so that maybe we'll forget about the bad things that are going on. No, grow up, be a man, start caring about real issues, speak out, and I fight tyranny first, then watch the game. Okay, fight tyranny first, admit things are going wrong, and if you have time at the end of the day, you can watch some football. Okay.
You think that only your government should have access to guns for the safety of citizens, when in the 20th century, the highest death rate was created by democide, which is murder of citizens by their own government.
I don't even have anything to say to that. That speaks for itself. The government is the biggest promoter of violence and is a mafia and can do whatever they want. They have a monopoly on the use of force of violence.
You're either a red commie or a capitalist bastard.
That basically sums up our whole political. We are that ignorant and stupid and in such mind control that we can't have an open discussion about just politics, religion, anything at all. It's I'm blue, you're red, you're bad, I'm good. MSNBC, Fox News, just right there, just explains our whole society.
Yep,
false
left, right paradigm. And people don't understand the first thing about economics. Moving on here to number 12. You bet your mental health on pharmaceutical industrial complex. I'm sorry to laugh, but it's just so absurd.
Yeah, and you see how many people are getting sick, and then also they're getting sick because they go to the doctor so much.
All these public shootings, yeah. all the guys doing them were on these SSRI. Yep. Serotonin reuptake inhibitors, all of them. Look it up.
Yep, all on antidepressants. You're not supposed to put that stuff in your body, okay? But yet the pharmaceutical, big pharma is legal drug dealing, okay? They have a monopoly on drug dealing. That's just what it is. Period.
And number 13 on this list, you can't imagine a world without money.
We worship money. We worship those federal debt notes that are pieces of paper that mean absolutely nothing. And the quicker you stop caring about those things, the quicker you will be fulfilled, and you'll start realizing what really matters in this life.
Stuart, Washington, D.C. has begun accepting first applications in decades for concealed firearm permits, and that's an article out of the Washington Post.
Finally, a federal judge ruled that their ban on carrying weapons is illegal, so they have to get a law in place now. They're required to. But either way, the Second Amendment is the law, okay? Sorry. You have the right to keep and bear arms, period. Kathy Lanier, the D.C. chief of police, she's an authoritarian who acts like, and admittedly says that, well, we want to make sure that they have a viable reason to carry. They have to basically to carry a gun in Washington, D.C., even though it's been overturned, their illegal gun ban, you still have to basically have someone threaten your life on record to have a gun. And the regulations and to be able to get a carry permit, they're going to make it so tough that it's basically going to be a ban anyway. Okay, so it was banned illegally, and then when they were told to overturn it, all they do is just make it so hard through their lawyer tricks and legislative tricks. They basically still make it illegal while pleasing the judge that ruled it illegal. So it's just a bunch of garbage, and the Second Amendment is your permit. Sorry, there is no permit. It's called the Second Amendment. You have the right to keep and bear arms. And D.C., what a hellhole.
Stuart, we got a hellhole right here in the Central Valley. Republican congressional representative, a Democrat, Jim Costa, opposes a travel ban from West Africa. And we know that is, in my mind, open treason, because he's essentially saying, go ahead and import bioweapons into my country to attack American citizens.
And that's what it is. It's a bioweapon. So we cannot allow these people coming from these Ebola-stricken countries, because that is essentially could be an attack. That's actually a national security issue. Okay? So, those 28 pages that have to do with us being in a decade and a half long war from 9/11, and previously it was years before decades.
Let's get this straight. Jim Costa doesn't give a damn about you Democrats.
Absolutely.
Understand that. He's following talking points from the White House. He says the exact same thing Obama said. The experts that I've spoken with say that it is not the best way to handle. Wow. I mean, it's just basic common sense. If there's an outbreak of a virus, then you don't allow the people that could be contaminated with the virus to come to where you are. I mean, give me a freaking break.
Do ISIS soldiers need to come over with Ebola for it to be a national security issue?
With chopped off heads?
And it still won't be a national security issue, okay? Because remember, things that are national security issues aren't really national security issues, okay? Like the pages from 9/11.
Illegally spying on every American.
There you go, okay? And so this is an actual issue that we need to address. And guess what? Our government does nothing about it.
He's following. He didn't even read any briefings about it. Anything.
No.
This guy's just pure garbage, reading off a teleprompter like all the rest of these plastic puppets. We see you.
It's his default position. That's what all these plastic politicians that are literally sold their soul. The default position is just to go with whatever Obama says.
Hey, we got the They Live glasses.
Says.
We can see you.
Yes. Oh, yeah, exactly. We know who you are, okay? Devin Nunes, that goes for you too, okay? Al-Qaeda's not our biggest threat. Our own government's our biggest threat, okay? The people that run this nation. And you're working for them. So you need to be called out. We got authoritarians running things, folks. I mean, in the capital of the United States, guns are basically banned, okay? And then we want to act like the Constitution still exists. And, the Constitution, blah, blah, blah. Rally around the flag, Al-Qaeda's bad. No, in our national capital, guns are banned. There's no Second Amendment. And even when a ruling's overturned, scumbag chiefs of police say, and city council members say, oh, no, you still you slaves, you serfs, you can't own weapons, okay? And also, everyone in that area that's a politician or is an elite, they have weapons, they have armed guards, but you live as a slave.
Stuart, it's unbelievable. It's moving on here to the medical tyranny. There's an article very well put together out of worldtruth.tv. I'll put it in the links on our YouTube channel. 22 medical studies that show vaccines can cause autism. And all these medical studies are linked to medical journals. Okay, so the dam is breaking on this thing. We already had the CDC whistleblower come out last month. Vaccines, I suggest that you read the drug insert and stop believing the lies that these people are telling us, because they don't know and they don't care.
Folks, we got about 30 seconds left. We appreciate you listening to the show, and we didn't get through everything we wanted to get through today, but we went over some important things, and it's something that you all should think about. And if you really care, start talking to people and start doing something, okay? Start taking action. We need to be in the arena of life, okay? And Sam and I are going to be fighting this until we die, because we're not going to live as slaves under this tyranny, because we're worth something. We have value.
It's ridiculous. The corruption is all on record. Do some research about what you are injecting into your children.
Tune in next week. We appreciate our listeners and our sponsors. Peace, love, and liberty. Good night.
This show is sponsored by We Are Change Fresno.